Hey guys, so today I'll be talking about my Upwork journey. First of all, whoever's viewing, just let me know if you can hear me correctly, because otherwise, I'll just probably fix my mic. Never mind, I'll just continue. Okay, if again there's any problem in audio, video, anything, definitely let me know directly in the comments or in the live chat particularly. So I'm going to address a few questions that people have raised previously about my status on Upwork. How did I actually make it through Upwork, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to be addressing those questions one by one. So the first question was, how did you start on Upwork? Hey Abdullah, I hope everything's going good. Just let me know if you can hear me correctly. And obviously, the slow mode is on, so you wouldn't be able to post more than a message, I guess. Uh, okay, hey everyone. Okay, so just that particular first question, how did I start on Upwork? Well, I have to be really honest about it. I think I did my O levels back in 2008. So again, it's just a backstory that you have to learn about me. I wasn't really good at studies. I focused a lot on martial arts, going to the gym, and just being very physically fit. I was actually from a bit, or like we weren't really financially that stable, like that much. So I couldn't really afford to go to a public, or sorry, a private school. I used my A levels, or I did my A levels from the city school. I wasn't really able to afford to go to the city school for my A levels. So again, we decided to do my A levels privately. But since I just wasn't good at studies, I actually was very busy in just maintaining my physique, doing martial arts, even computer gaming, so on and so forth. So the normal trajectory of my friends who went and did A levels, again, I was just left way behind them. Like I did a lot of leap years, so on and so forth. I was just focused on a lot of crappy stuff, a lot of stuff that didn't really have any professional impact on my life. And I was just focused on that. And I know that a few years passed by, I think like 3 or 4 years. I even tried doing my A levels privately. I failed a bunch of times. And a few years passed by and I just couldn't make it. I just couldn't do anything with my life at that particular point. I know I was playing this game like computer gamed Dota 2. Like, I'm not sure if you guys actually know about it. So I was playing that game, and I think it was Dota 1, not even 2 at that point. And one of my friends was just talking to me, and we were just talking, communicating after the game offline. And we were just talking about like what are we doing with our lives, so on and so forth, and what we can do. Because I wasn't able to do my A levels, so obviously I couldn't get into a university like all my friends. Like I did not have A levels done, and most of my friends actually were in university. So you can imagine like where actually I was at that particular phase in my life. But that particular friend, who was a friend of mine through computer games like Dota, so on and so forth, told me about Arena Multimedia. So that's the first time I actually went with him to Arena Multimedia. I really, but I guess like I enjoyed going there. I went there just to get an idea of what it's all about, and then I joined an Arena Multimedia near my place or near my home. And I think that actually started most of my journey as a designer, as a developer, as a freelancer, so on and so forth. I went there. I think I took the yearly course. So in the first 6 months, they probably teach you like Photoshop, Illustrator, and all of that stuff. And the second month, it was more about like, I think like web development or whatever. So I did all of that. And from there, my instructors, teachers, I had really great instructors there, even though obviously a lot of people here in Pakistan may look down on Arena Multimedia. But the point is, you can actually learn quite a lot from anywhere. You can learn from great teachers anywhere. You don't have to go to an expensive university to be the best. You can actually go to anywhere, just be passionate about learning and do it. So someone actually just pointed out, hey, there are these different freelance courses, so on and so forth, that or sorry, freelance websites that you can go to. You can upload your portfolio, and then you can just go ahead and start applying on jobs, so on and so forth. So they told me or mentioned about Upwork, and that's where I actually started my journey from. I actually went to Upwork. I already had a bunch of portfolio created by going to Arena Multimedia, and I just uploaded that portfolio on Upwork. I created my profile. This was back in 2012, I think. I created my profile, I uploaded the portfolio that we created in Arena Multimedia, and I just started with small jobs. So that's generally what my start on Upwork looked like. 2021, Tayyab, I'm from Karachi, Pakistan, just so you know. So again, that's what my journey has been like the start of my journey on Upwork. And I did really small jobs. I'm not sure if you can actually share your screen uh, live or whatever. I'm not sure with Upwork, but oh, sorry, with this particular YouTube live streaming, this is the first time actually doing it. Let me see if there's a way to actually share my screen live, and I can just share or talk about my profile just by sharing it. But those who actually have a link to my profile can go ahead and check that out as well by themselves. So the first job that I actually did, and I'm going to talk through it. I'm going to talk about the first job that I actually had. Um, I actually started on Star. I'll just mention that in the chat as well. Started on 2012. I think it was in February 2012. Let me just actually go to my Upwork profile and verify that, and I'll let you guys know the exact date. Like I'm not sure about the exact date, but the first project that I actually got on Upwork. So I'm going to go back to the first project that I have, and I'm going to share a link to my profile as well in the live chat. If you guys want to have a look at my profile directly, feel free to do so. Okay, so just give me a second. So the first job that I actually had was or when it was first completed. It was completed on February 16th, 2012. So that was the first job that I did, and it was of a fixed price contract of $52. Now, a lot of people actually come to me and talk about, hey, we can't really make it, so on and so forth. I mean, look at me when I was starting out. It's been 12 years, man. Look at me. Like I was doing these $50 jobs, $20 jobs. I'm not sure about the $20, but the first job I had was $50. The second job, again, $52 or whatever. The first job. The second job was $50. It was about a logo design. The third job was $60. It was about graphic design. The fifth one that I can actually see was a $1.67. $1.67. People look at my earnings, they see like I'm a god of, like, I'm sorry, apologies. Like I'm some master of Upwork or whatever. This is my journey. Like I didn't start getting projects for like $100 or like $500 or $1,000 or $10,000 right from the beginning. I have actually worked really hard to get to the point that I am in. Like it's 12 years. A lot of people are actually starting out. They're just starting out like it's their first year and they're like, hey, we've only made, let's say, $500 in this year. Like that's like horrible. I mean, look at the amount that I've made on my own profile. If you actually go back to my first contracts, then it was like $183, $150, $166, $22, even after jumping to those $100 and all of that stuff. I mean, that's how life happens. You just don't go ahead and actually just start making these like huge bucks. Like sometimes you may, if you actually have luck on your side, and if you're really experienced. I wasn't experienced. I was starting out as a complete beginner on Upwork. I did not have any work experience. I just had experience like creating those portfolio items in Arena Multimedia, and that's how I just started out. So that's the other thing. Someone asked me about like the challenges that I faced on Upwork and how I tackled them. So I have a few challenges that I faced on Upwork. One of them, one of the huge ones, is actually unsatisfied clients. So I've actually gotten a lot of unsatisfied, no, not really a lot. Some of my clients have been unsatisfied. Like they gave me 4 stars or 4.5 stars. And a lot of people wonder, like, how do I actually maintain that 5-star profile? Well, if usually the principle that I actually follow now, and sometimes I even used to follow that back then, was if a client is not satisfied with my work, I'm not going to charge them. And even if, let's say, sometimes I actually had a need for that particular money because I spent a lot of work on it and spent a lot of time on it, I used to take that money even if the client was not initially. I'm just talking about initially. Now I obviously don't even charge them. But initially, when someone was not satisfied and I had an immense need for that particular money, because as I said, I wasn't really that rich initially, I used to take the money that the client obviously willingly gave me. They gave me, let's say, a 4.5 or a 4-star. And then when I actually had the money, I would just refund that money to the client directly on Upwork. And if you refund a particular project or a particular client that has left a negative rating, like a 4 rating, 3 rating, 2 rating, whatever, then that particular project is actually taken out from your profile. So then again, you can keep on maintaining that 5-star profile and 100% job success rate. So ideally, if you actually have the money, there's no issue with you actually sacrificing your food or your health or your wealth or whatever it is. Then obviously I would recommend not taking any amount from a client that's not satisfied, because that has a huge impact on your public profile. Apart from that, some of the other challenges that I faced are scope creep. So a lot of the times, and that happens even right now, that's actually happening in one of the projects that I'm doing right now. Clients would um, give me a scope of a project. Like, for example, this is what we are going to be working on. They're going to talk about, like, hey, these are the few screens that we actually need, and then they're going to actually blow that out of proportions. And since it's a fixed price project, you can't really charge them more. So that's how I have actually been juggling with some of the actual challenges that I've been facing. And when that happens, the scope creep problem, I actually am very communicative to the clients now, because I have authority and ownership, and I can risk actually not having that job. But sometimes previously, obviously, when I was in a dire need of that amount of that money and making the client happy so I can get that money and actually feed myself or my family or whatever, I actually used to comply with a bunch of clients, and just even if it was like, let's say they were increasing the scope or whatever, I would just do that particular project and just get that amount, because I was not in a position, in a power dynamic that I could actually resist and say, hey, we can't really do this, because then the client may actually back off. But now, since I am in that position, I actually just say, hey, this is actually going a bit too far. Even if it goes, like, let's say like a bit far than the initial scope, that's fine. But if it actually exceeds the initial scope and bloats out of proportion, then I actually have to put a stop on that. So that's generally most of the stuff that I've been talking about. Then obviously we have Upwork scams, and you can probably know more about that by actually checking some of my videos out, or just searching for scams on YouTube. I'm going to talk about, or at the very least start addressing some of the questions that people have posted in the chat. So, where are you from? I'm from Karachi, Pakistan. When did you start on Upwork? As I mentioned, I started, I think, on February 2012. Let me just check the exact date. I think I mentioned it. Yeah, February 16, 2012. That was when my first contract was completed. And I probably started even before that, because you usually don't land your job immediately. You probably have to create your profile and again start applying on jobs, on and so forth. So that was when my first contract was finished. Now, would you still recommend Upwork? Yes, I would recommend Upwork, because I think it is a great platform. Obviously, they charge some fee, but I think for people who don't have a brand identity on LinkedIn or any other, or Dribble or Behance or whatever, and they don't have a lot of followers, and if you have good work, you know how to actually get started and do the work that you love, it's a great place to get clients. However, I would argue that even if you are on Upwork, and even if you want to try it out, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, try to build your personal image on LinkedIn, have your portfolio uploaded on Dribble, on Behance, try to teach people on YouTube, try to be on any mentorship programs as well. Do as much as you can to get yourself out there and put yourself out there so people can find you. Imagine if I wasn't doing these videos, or if I wasn't really, again, active on LinkedIn or Dribble or Behance or an Upwork. Even if I was of the same skill set that I actually am right now, if nobody knew me, how are they going to contact me? How are they going to say, hey, we really need you to work on this project with us? So again, I would argue, even more important than your skills are definitely important, but even more important than skills, because even if you have your skills and you're a master of it, if you're just sitting in your room playing World of Warcraft, playing Dota, or just reading books or doing whatever, and if you don't put yourself out there, no one's going to know you. But even if you don't have skills, even if you don't have any skills, but you actually put yourself out there, people may come and contact you. Even if you portray yourself as an expert, as a self-proclaimed expert without having zero skills, people may still get in touch with you and actually want to work with you. So it's really important to know how to market yourself and have an online presence. So that's that. Tell us about how to start on Upwork, because I'm a beginner. Which skills required for starting on Upwork? So if you want to start on Upwork, you have to create, obviously, a profile first. And one of the most important things that you have to do is upload a portfolio. Upload a portfolio on Dribble, on Behance. Actually, I would highly recommend, obviously, you can upload the same images, upload the same projects on the Upwork portfolio as well, but actually have an external portfolio as well. If possible, actually, like, go on Webflow, go on WordPress or whatever, and create your own personal portfolio website that actually talks a bit more in detail and depth about your creative journey, so on and so forth. And these can be concept projects. You don't have to be a professional to actually get started on Upwork or on any platform. as I mentioned, that's what happened to me. I was not experienced when I started on Upwork, and I started getting jobs because I had that portfolio which I generated or actually collected when I worked with Arena Multimedia. So you need to collect that portfolio and you need to post it. And you need to start posting, speaking, talking about things that are passionate to you about design, front end, whatever development, so that people can actually know who you are. Okay, so that's that. Now, Akif Bhatti actually asks, what do you think about doing master in HCI, human computer interaction, for those who don't know? Because I'm working as a UI UX designer from 2 years in the industry and completed my software engineering in August. Like, if you want to do it, then that's fine. I'll just say one thing which actually my instructor told me on in Arena Multimedia, and I really take his word for granted. So we were doing a lot of things, right? We were doing web development there, we were doing audio video there, we were doing graphic design, we were doing web design and all of that stuff. And someone actually asked, or we were actually having a conversation, because obviously all of us wanted to be successful, make money, so on and so forth. And someone actually was talking about, hey, there's a lot of money in web, we should go in web and all of that stuff. Or someone was talking about, hey, there's a lot of money in audio and video editing and stuff along those lines. And my sir actually, I think, heard that conversation, or he was in the room when we were talking about it. And he said, if you're an expert at what you do, then even if you're selling bananas down the road, you're going to be making money. So don't think about like which particular field to actually pick. If you're an expert and you know how to market yourself and you know how to sell your product or services, you would make that amount of money. So don't focus too much necessarily on what's in. Obviously, you have to consider what's in. I'm not going to ask you to create sculptures. Like, you can probably make a lot of money with sculptures as well, but I don't know. Let me think about an outdated profession. Maybe, I don't know. Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. I don't know, making kites maybe. So obviously you have to look at what's in. But apart from all the fields, or all of the fields that actually are in right now, I would argue there's not one particular field that's going to make you or help you be successful. It's your skills, it's your effort, it's your marketing, it's how you actually present yourself, and the love that you have for that profession. Because there are going to be times when you're not going to be earning stuff there. I actually had a lot of times like that. I wasn't earning anything. My father was retired, and I think my mother was retired too. Like, you can imagine that we actually had no breadwinner. I think my mother was a teacher, and she was no, actually, when I actually got my first job, my mother was retired at that point, and she was no longer working as well. So you can imagine the situation that we had at that point. And there were times when we just did not I personally did not have work. So I mean, you can just imagine what that particular situation is. So just be good at your work and love what you do, because if you don't love what you're doing and these tough times come, you're actually just going to abandon the ship and just run to another field completely, and you wouldn't be able to persevere. Perseverance is really important to be successful in any field. So that's that, especially if you actually hit roadblocks. So HCI, if you want to do it, I think that's great. As a UI UX designer, if you want to go into HCI, I think there's no problem with that, and you can definitely go ahead and do that. Tayyib asks, as a beginner, how to make portfolio, because I do not do any projects. That's what I mentioned, man. You don't have to do any real projects. Most of the work that I have on my dribble on Behance, since I work on Upwork, if people are familiar with Upwork actually has an NDA policy. Most of the work, or most of the contracts that I've done with Upwork, only a few clients have allowed me to actually post that work in my portfolio. So most of the work that I actually have on my dribble, on my Behance, or my agency portfolio are actually just concept projects. I actually have hired people sometimes in my own agency just to work on concept projects. Like, for example, think about an idea, just work on them. Think about another application, just work on them, post that, so we can get some projects and some designs on our websites. You can design based on any ideas that you have in mind. You can redesign certain popular applications, those get a lot of popularity as well. If you find a particular experience really challenging in one of the applications that you've used, or maybe some of your friends have used, just redesign it. And again, a lot of people are actually pretty I guess, uh, pretty excited about working with people who are starting off. Just work for free. I know a lot of people are actually going to be frowning when I said that work for free, but initially you are at the liberty of creating those initial concepts or initial projects, or getting or gathering those initial projects to actually be successful. So why not just help someone, like work for non-profit organizations, help your friend set up their, like, let's say, website or whatever. Just do those work for free, because obviously that's goodwill as well, and that's going to help you create your portfolio as well. If you're doing concept projects on the side, why don't just help people? Just start helping people for free. That's going to help you with your skills. That's or with your portfolio, it's going to help you polish your skills as well, and it's also going to help you understand the real world challenges of actually these projects and client designer interactions, so on and so forth. Because obviously when you're creating concept projects yourself, I mean, no one's questioning you. You can place the website like this, you can make it like this, you can use any colors or whatever. But when you have that client and person or student or designer interaction, you learn a lot from that as well. So Tayyib, that's your answer for that. Abdullah asks how to improve communication. Like, you have a very good flow of spoken English. Please guide me. Just speak in English. I did not have this particular English or this particular fluent accent. I honestly don't have a fluid accent. As you know, like, even in the stream, I'm making tons of mistakes. So the more you speak, the more you get comfortable, or the more you actually place yourself into the position of, or take yourself out of the comfort zone and start doing something that you're not comfortable with at that particular point. That's going to help you be more comfortable with it. Imagine, have you ever seen someone who is going to learn something, or who's going to just be a professional at something just by waking up one day in the morning and just being good at it? Obviously, no. You can never be good at something until and unless you do it repeatedly and it's not new to you, it's not novel to you. If something is new to you and it's novel to you, you will never be good at it. So you have to keep on doing it. You have to keep on doing whatever you want to be good at, even if it takes you out of the comfort zone, and even if people laugh at you. I'm just going to tell you very honestly, as I mentioned initially, I did my O levels in 2008 or something, and then I actually completed my A levels in 2016. I was one of the oldest students in my university. I actually completed my education from Habib University. I was one of the oldest students in Habib University when I was doing my A levels. I was probably one of the oldest students there as well. One of the oldest students. I'm sure there were some other people older than me as well. But imagine that, like, people used to laugh at me, they used to make fun at me and whatever. But if you have to succeed at something, if you have to be good at something, then you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone, even if that means like people are going to laugh at you. And like, that's just going to increase your perseverance, that's going to increase your fortitude, your mental fortitude, and just going to help you become a better person overall. So that's that. Okay. Abdullah asks again, uh, is it better to is it better to get a permanent remote job or work as a freelancer? Why not both? Like, even in my agency, I have a lot of talented designers like Talha, Tariq, and Taha and Khurram and all of those awesome people. Talha, as an example, I know actually works in my agency full time, and he also does other work on the side as well. Like, I am very open with that particular thing. The organization that I work for, Mattermost, when I initially started out with Mattermost, I was working two jobs. So I was working with Mattermost and I was working with another organization as well. And I used to do freelance stuff on the side as well. Right now, even when I am working with Mattermost, I have my own freelancing stuff. Obviously, I don't do a lot of freelancing now, but I have my own agency and they work or get work. And I obviously am involved sometimes as well. And we just work all the time. So definitely try to get a remote job. I would argue for a remote job compared to any job locally within Pakistan, just because of the pay scale difference. But obviously, there are a lot of awesome companies in Pakistan as well that actually offer competitive pay compared to international standards as well. So if you can get that and do that, I think that's a great opportunity as well. So it's perfectly fine working permanently or working full time remotely. Remotely is much better because you don't have to commute. Like, there's a lot of stress in commute, there's a lot of stress in office politics and all of that stuff. So obviously, when you're working a remote job, a lot of that amount of time, effort, stress is actually taken away. So even if you're working locally, try to find a place where you can work remotely. I think that's going to be a much better, and it's going to allow you to focus more of your time on freelancing and just getting remote projects. That's most of the designers that I have in my team, the small square, my agency, are actually in Pakistan. Most of the people that I have in are in Pakistan, and we work remotely. I have never met any of them. I've actually met one of them because one of them is actually my brother, though he does not work with my agency anymore, at the very least for now, because he actually works elsewhere. But apart from that, I haven't met most of the people who actually work in my agency since it's new, but whatever, you get the idea. Okay. Yuvraj, I'm beginning doing 100 days of UI and posting every day on Behance, Dribble, Instagram, LinkedIn. Yes, you are on the right path, my friend. That is the best path. Post on Dribble, post on Behance, post on LinkedIn, and on that 100 days of UI challenge, like usually what happens is that particular UI or these UI challenges are really condensed down. And that's the problem I have with some of these UI challenges. They're a really great way to actually develop your skills, so on and so forth, and get that popularity and visibility and just keep on posting stuff. But sometimes when you want to impress a client, you actually need something concrete. You just don't need, let's say, redesign this like homepage or redesign this particular section on an application or whatever. Try to actually do case studies of full-fledged concept applications or a redesign of a whole application with multiple pages, and talk more about your thought process. The problem with these smaller UI challenges is they don't request you about your thought process. They don't ask you about a case study of those applications. They don't ask you about any of that detail. So that's, I think, something that's missing in these UI challenges. But since you're doing them, keep on doing that, but try to include a lot more. Even when you're doing those small things, even if it's a small decision, try to build a story around it, because people really like to listen to stories, and they also want to know what your thought process has been like. So I think that's really important. Okay. After learning UX laws and learn UX course from Coursera, how I improve UX. Okay. Tayyib, I think it's just about working. You have to work on real projects to actually be good at something. Let me ask you something. I guess like most people here probably know how to ride a bike or know how to ride a car, right? Drive a car, drive a bike, so on and so forth. Go on Coursera, go on Udemy, go on YouTube, and learn how to ride a bike. And just tell me, after you've done, let's say, 10 or 20 or 100 courses, would you be able to ride the bike or that car by yourself the first time, or take it out on the street? Like, just tell me, like, yes or no answer directly in the comments. Would anyone be able to do that? Just learning these videos, like 10 videos, 20 videos, 20 courses, whatever, would you be able to do something with that? I'm guessing hopefully no. So, and I don't recommend, again, just learning from Coursera, LinkedIn, or whatever, and then going or taking your dad's car on the road. Definitely don't do that. But until and unless you actually start working on real projects, you're not going to get any far. Interactiondesign.org or .com or whatever, Udemy, Coursera, the Google course on Coursera, so on and so forth. These are all great resources. Even my own YouTube videos or YouTube videos from other awesome creators, much better than me, are great resources. But you're not going to get far just by doing them until and unless you actually work on real projects. Muhammad bin Salim actually asked a question. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Wa alaikum assalam, brother. I feel like I'm talking like Habib or Islam Makashev. Okay. Wa alaikum assalam, brother. Needed to ask how you get clients your work outside Fiverr, i.e., other social media. I just am very vocal about the stuff that I'm doing. I keep regularly posting on LinkedIn. I try to, at the very least. I know I'm not extremely regular, but I keep on posting on LinkedIn. I keep on posting on Dribble. I keep on posting on Behance, so on and so forth. And again, if you keep on just being active about that, people are going to keep on reaching out to you. One other thing that you actually, which I think is one of the most underrated things, is actually recurring clients and referrals. So if you work for someone, so most of the times this actually happens when you're working with a client. Imagine you actually got a job. You got a job for, let's say, $1,000, $500, or whatever, $10,000. Who knows? You get that particular job. You're almost done with that project. The thing that actually comes to your mind is, hey, I'm actually done with this project. I'm going to get that amount. I need to start finding another client. I need to start looking for that other client so I can actually continue this momentum. You forget that this particular client can actually be a long-term client. Satisfy him as much as you can. Focus on that particular project that you're doing right now. Give it your utmost attention. If the client expects 100% out of you, give it your 150% or 200%. I'm going to actually be honest with you. Most of the clients that I have, Mattermost, the client that I work for, I actually worked on one of their marketing website, or like some other website. It was not Mattermost back then. It was some other project, and I worked for them. And I think they just like the work or my work ethic or the work that I did for them, that when they actually launched Mattermost, they came back to me and say, hey, would you like to work with Mattermost and our organization, so on and so forth. So it was a recurring client. One of the best jobs that I have ever had is with Mattermost. And that actually happened because, again, of that positive relationship that I established with them. So focus on giving your best to the client that you're actually working for instead of focusing on how to get that next project. And you can also ask for referrals. Sometimes, if you actually work with someone and they're working great, just mention to them that, hey, I would personally be really happy if you can actually recommend me to any of your friends or colleagues or whatever who may be looking for web design or development or whatever it is that you're doing, services. And yeah, just ask that favor for the client and they would be sure to oblige usually. And sometimes they, if you actually work for them really well, they would automatically refer you to some of their other friends. I have had people come to me just because of a positive relationship that I've had with one client, and they just referred some other people to me as well. And that's usually what happens even in other fields, right? So that's the other thing. Okay. Mohammed bin Salim, other question: how to freelance outside of Fiverr and Upwork? I already mentioned that you have to build your online presence. You just keep on building that online presence and you're going to start getting that recognition. But you need to do that consistently. It's not like I'm just going to start posting on LinkedIn or Behance or Dribble and I'm going to do that for a month and a half and I'm going to expect actually people to come in. That's not how social networks works. That's not how the algorithm works. Obviously, you need to be very consistent at it, like maybe 6 months or whatever. You need to do it consistently, and just trust me. Inshallah, there's going to be a tipping point where you're going to start getting that attention. So don't give up just by doing things for, let's say, a month or something. So that's that. Do we have to learn Photoshop and Illustrator? Is it must? No, you should not learn Photoshop and Illustrator. It's not a must. It's a good to have, but I rarely do work in Photoshop and Illustrator now. Most of my team members actually rarely touch it as well. I don't even think most of my agency designers actually have an active subscription of Photoshop and Illustrator, so that's not needed. Um, Ahmed, I've already replied to your question above. How can we get clients from LinkedIn? Just build that online presence. Once you have that online presence, you can also apply for LinkedIn. I think it's Sales Navigator or Premium Membership or whatever, and you can actually start messaging people who you think may need your help or your design services. So you can do that as well. But before doing that, actually start building a presence and you're actually a following. So that's that. Uh, Idiwa Net actually asked you, hey man, watched a lot of your videos and transferring from Sketch 9+ years to Figma. I found your content to be the best at getting right to the point, especially concerning auto layout. Again, I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you're finding my content useful. Again, as I said, I'm definitely not the best out there. There are tons of better people out there, but it's just like finding that balance. And yeah, I'm just trying to learn like you guys and just trying to be better than whatever I am today. Tayyab asked, is UX articles or are UX articles useful? Anything's useful, man. Like anything that you can actually get value out of, anything it's useful. Uh, anything's so obviously it's going to be a controversial point, but anything's you or the usefulness of anything actually depends on how much use you can actually get out of that particular thing. Obviously, if something's completely rubbish, like I just write this is an article and that's the article, you won't be able to find a lot of value out of it. But I'm generally speaking, most of the articles that you find online, I would really recommend like Nielsen Norman Group. They actually have a lot of really awesome articles. Obviously, Interaction Design actually does a lot of articles as well. And then we have other people like Envision that actually post out a lot of really good blog content. So again, you can definitely learn a lot from them. But one of the major things, or one of the most important things that you can do in your learning journey, is to start working, even if it's for free, for clients, for your friends, so on and so forth. Okay. Man, your name is really hard to pronounce. Zen Sensei, I'm guessing. What do you think about Lottie files, and what file format would you recommend for animations besides Lottie? Lottie files is great, I think. I would recommend Spline as well. Spline 3D. Spline 3D actually allows you to create embeddable, interactable animations as well, or 3D elements or 3D animations as well. So that's great as well. Obviously, if you're using After Effects, Lottie animations, I think, is the way to go. But you can actually just export your animations in GIF as well and do them. One other thing you can do is SVG Gator. So if you actually go on SVG Gator, and I'm pretty sure there are other tools like that as well, they create SVG animations, which are also, I think, interactable, and those are purely SVG based. So that's a really great tool as well. And obviously, you can just plainly do GIF, but GIF is the last format that I would recommend for animations, because again, they're a bit larger in size and they're not as crisp. So that's that. Okay, why we have to use, okay, never mind. Tayyab has another question. When we create design system for every project, my man, any UI UX project that you have, even if let's say it's just like, let's say 2 or 3 pages, create that design system. It's going to help you scale that project, build that project. It's going to save time. Imagine I have 3 pages, or let's say 5 pages in a small application. I am using a button in, or let's say 2 buttons in every of those single project or single pages. So 5 into 2, that's like 10 buttons, right? If I don't have that button created as a component, the next time client comes in and he's like, hey, I really think that we should increase the padding on this button. What are you going to do? Are you going to select those 10 buttons individually and increase that padding manually? I mean, just save yourself the time, and actually not only save yourself the time, but actually save the client the time to, and also build your reputation up by being very concrete about these details and being very, again, professional about them. The other thing is, anytime they want to update the color, if you want to update the color of the whole application, if you have those styles created in your design system, you would easily be able to do them just by changing the color variables. Don't create projects, even your concept projects, without creating a design system first for them. Obviously, you can create it afterwards as well, because initially when you're exploring, you don't really know what colors to use. So it's not like you can actually just do them immediately. But once you're done with the single page or the first page, or just a concept idea of the colors and the components that you want to use, create the design system. It's going to actually help you be better at Figma or XD or Sketch or any other tool that you're working on. So that's that. Why we have to use 8 pixel grid? I'm the Flash. That's his question. 8 pixel grid is just a good standard to use, because if you actually look at, I think, Bootstrap, I don't use Bootstrap often now. I use Tailwind. So that's the format that a lot of actually websites use right now. And I think, again, if you're actually basing your designs on the 8 pixel grid, that's just going to help you translate that particular design to any of these front end frameworks as well. And I think it's just like a good multiplier as well. So you can start from 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then 16, 20, 24, 32, 36, 40, 48, something along those lines. Okay, cool. Okay, it sounds good, Zen Sensei. It's last. I mean, it's good that I actually pronounced your name right. One last question. What do you think will happen to Figma after Adobe takeover? I actually don't know. I actually have high hopes for Figma. I think they may actually make Figma paid in the future. I don't know. Like, that's what I suspect, because most of their subscriptions are paid, and that's going to take a lot of power away from Figma. And if they do that, I think that's going to be a really bad decision. And if people would want to go to another tool after that, I would be completely on that argument. I would be in favor of that argument, because Figma is really great because it's free for beginners, and beginners like myself, like not right now, but when I was initially starting out, really needed that free resource. So a lot of open source projects are actually coming up and cropping up as well, which are very similar to Figma. And you can explore those out too. Or maybe I can actually do a video on that. I have been exploring some tools, Zen Sensei, but I don't think they're up to the mark right now. I think maybe Framer is something that's, I think, good. Adobe XD, I've tried it out. I think Figma is still a few years ahead of most of the competition. But I think Adobe XD, obviously, but since that's Adobe XD, I think there was Penpot or something. I don't remember. Framer X, I think that would be a good tool to explore. But I think it's safe to actually stick on Figma right now, because that's what most organization, companies, and projects are actually asking you as a requirement to actually have that particular skill set. So just don't worry about actually working on some other new tool just because of the fear that as to what's going to happen what's going to happen to Figma because of the Adobe takeover. Because if you do that and you switch to another tool, the client actually wants that file in Figma. What are you going to do just by learning that other tool that no one's even going to use? So that's that. Muhammad Taimur, share tips for Upwork. I've actually shared a bunch of tips for Upwork on some of my videos, but if I have to share some tips, I think one of the most important tips would be writing good cover letters. And I actually have a video for that. Let me just actually find write good cover letters. Upwork. I actually have a video for that, and I think that's really good. So you can probably check that out. I can't even find my own video. There are so many videos on Upwork on the cover letter thing, but I'm just going to share this video in the description. I think this is really good for you to consume. Apart from that, like apart from writing cover letters, as I mentioned, upload your portfolio and man, just start. Please, 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 just start creating your online presence. Don't expect people to find you. Just imagine you're working in your home one day, you're just playing games like Dota, World of Warcraft, whatever, or watching Netflix or whatever, and a client comes in, hey, I think that you're a really awesome designer, even though you've posted nothing. I just have a feeling, something in my gut, that you're a really awesome designer and I want you to come work with us. Like, how do you imagine that's going to happen until and unless you actually start putting yourself out there, man? Start putting yourself out there. Okay, so that's that. Uh, I don't think there are any other questions. If there are any last questions, we have already like this live stream has actually gone really huge, 40 minutes already. If there's anything else that anyone would like to ask, please do post them. Otherwise, I'll just be closing the stream in about like 5 minutes or something. Okay, Ivano, Ivano, Ivan on off one. Oh man, that's a really awesome name. If they make it expensive, then we'll have to treat it just like we treated all Adobe Creative Soft or Suite. Like, I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean we're going to leave them, or does that mean we're going to crack them? I definitely would not recommend cracking them because that's illegal, but we can definitely leave them. Okay. Uh, Zen Sensei, is there any possible that you can give me some feedback on one of my projects? It would be a Figma link. Haha, no hard feelings. If not, I actually am very open to giving people feedback on their personal projects as well or professional projects. So if you can actually leave that Figma link on one of my videos, or maybe just send me a message on LinkedIn, when I actually have the time or get the time, I would actually like to help you. So it's completely fine, Zen Sensei. Muhammad Tamur, can you create UI animation videos on After Effects? I can do that, but I'm not a professional on After Effects. Since I'm not a professional, I think you can actually find a lot more talented individuals than me who can actually do that. One thing that I don't like about After Effects, especially if you're not converting them into Lottie animations, is that they're not really scalable. In my opinion, they're not really scalable. Again, there's very minimal interaction. I actually really dig interaction in animations as well, in prototypes as well, and that's why I use protopie. If you want videos on protopie, like advanced animation protopie videos, or even just HTML CSS, definitely let me know. I just don't think Adobe After Effects is a tool that I really enjoy using. Okay, can we create custom mockups in Spline 3D mockups, because some mockups are paid? What do you mean by mockups? If you're talking about designs, yes, you can create custom 3D designs in Spline 3D based on my experience up until now. So I think that's that. Zen Sensei, you're happy. I'm glad that you guys are happy. If there's anything else, this is one of my first live streams. If you people really want to indulge more in any of these topics or any specific topic, whether that's going deep on Upwork, whether that's talking more about Figma, whether that's talking more about how to actually secure clients, any UX stuff or whatever, we can actually we will be free to actually just go ahead and delve deeper into any of those topics in any other stream as well. I saw your Figma animation videos, but which format you export those animations to upload on Dribble or Behance? I actually record a video and then record a video using QuickTime or whatever, and then actually upload the QuickTime, or actually convert that QuickTime into a GIF and then upload it. Again, these animations, I'll really be honest with you, these animations are useless. These animations are only to get people's eye on, and by people I mean usually other designers' eye on your work and just be like, wow, that's really awesome, like a lot of awesome animations. But those really don't have a lot of substantial value in the real UX and UI world, or when you're actually working on real projects. Usually most of these animations are really simple. I mean, who really cares about a dashboard animation that has certain elements loading in. Like no one has the time for that. If a person is using that dashboard consistently, they're refreshing the page, they're switching tabs, doing whatever. Imagine the page actually animating for like 1 or 2 seconds. That's not great. That's like again costing the client 1 or 2 seconds every time he switches a page or every time he refreshes. That's like the worst user experience, and I would definitely not recommend anyone doing that. Okay, but obviously you can still do that to actually get that attention and just increase your followers, because obviously, as I mentioned, public image is really important, and you need to do a lot of these other dumb things to actually get a lot of people to follow you or subscribe to you or do whatever. So that's that. I think that's pretty much it. I really appreciate a lot of people actually jumping on this stream. I wasn't really expecting more than 1 or 2 people, but again, I am really humbled by the attention that you guys have given a mediocre person like me. So again, that's pretty much it. I again really thank you. Do subscribe to my channel, because again, I'll just let you know, I don't earn by ads. I don't have my videos monetized. I just do them purely for obviously creating my personal brand image, obviously to help everyone here learn these things, to give back to the community and all of that stuff. So these are all free. These are all free resources, and you subscribing, you liking the videos and telling me where I'm wrong or any videos that you actually want to see in the future, that actually helps me happy and helps my channel grow and whatever. So that's pretty much it. Okay, I said I want to thank you. Your videos have helped me a lot. I will start looking for a job soon. I will let you know when I get my first job. I hope it happens soon. I am really happy for you that again you're finding a lot of value out of my videos. If there's anything that I can actually help you to actually help you get that particular job, anything that you actually need help with, then you can contact me personally on LinkedIn as well, and I would be happy to talk to you one-to-one as well. So that's pretty much it. Thank you again. As I mentioned, do subscribe and do hit the bell icon. Bye.